Hi everyone, it's me, Eartha. Thank you for joining me in Transition Awareness Breathing Podcast. Today I have a special guest. Her name is Jennifer Strickland, and Jennifer is going to be sharing her expertise on using essential oils with mindfulness. So relax and enjoy the show. And at the end of the show, Jennifer will share how you can get in contact with her if you're interested in learning more about essential oils and mindfulness. Thank you for joining me. Okay, hi Jennifer.
Hi.
Thank you so much for joining me today. I'm so excited. So I know that you've been dealing with essential oils and mindfulness. I follow you on Facebook and I follow your adventures. Jennifer is a traveler, you guys. Maybe we'll do a show next time on some of the traveling you do, but today you have some information and sharing your expertise on essential oils and mindfulness. So before we get started, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Okay, so I'm Jennifer Strickland, and I have a really interesting kind of variety of background, but it all kind of builds up to just like having this technical researcher and just in love with everything natural health. So my background is in aircraft design, actually.
Wow.
And then later I taught high school chemistry and physics and human anatomy and physiology, all like honors AP level. And then, just whenever I had my daughter, I was like, oh, maybe there's more about health that I really need to be watching out for. What about these things that my children are getting exposed to, and what can I do to better improve our health? So that's when I started doing a lot of research, and then I went and got certified at the Center for Aromatherapy Research and Education because I wanted to understand essential oils. I knew that there was a $5 bottle of frankincense and like an $80 bottle.
Mm-hmm.
So what's the difference, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I started doing my research, got certifications, and learned how to incorporate it into emotional wellness.
So was there any health issues or anything that kind of prompted that research? My listeners know that why I got started with mindfulness was because of my sons. How about you? If it's okay to share.
Yes, absolutely. No, so I had been, learning this and that about nutrition and essential oils and things like that, but it wasn't until 2012 when I literally ran myself into the ground. Stress. I was working 100 hours a week. I was homeschooling, and it was like I was getting 4 to 6 hours of sleep at night, just really, and that kind of lifestyle like a lot of us have these days, just trying to get it all done.
Yeah.
We're eating whatever is there and just using whatever. And so it wasn't until I really hit the ground, ran myself into the ground, double pneumonia, felt I was as close to my deathbed as I could be at the time. That I was like, okay, it's time to change. It's time to make some decisions. And so I really started to dig into the essential oils to see what is it with these plants, concentrated plant essences that really helps us with our health. Mm-hmm. So I called a friend who I knew was really good at understanding essential oils. I'm like, first I need to get over this, what I was dealing with health-wise and stress-wise. And so what do I do? And so she told me, mix these oils up, toss it down your throat. I'm like, really? She's like, yeah, are you brave? I'm like, yeah, I'm brave. And I swallowed it down, and I was like, it felt like fiery flowers coming out of my throat. And it actually started to make me feel better. It was a turning point in my life. And so I thought, now I really need to understand this. So I started digging into the chemistry of essential oils and how it affects emotions. And that's where things really started to improve for my whole family, because we were sick. The normal family is sick every month, like every other month, something like that. You pick up everything else comes around, just like, it's normal. Kids get sick. Mm-hmm. Our bodies weren't created to be sick all the time. Mm-hmm. They were created to heal themselves, but they need to have the proper nutrients.
But tell us a little bit about what you've brought here. Wow, what a story. My goodness.
Well, I brought 3 essential oils with me, And we were going to talk about mindfulness and how essential oils really tie into that. So these are beneficial for both mindfulness and health. And so I'll tell you how, like there's a technique that you can use, but let me just give you the basics. So here's one oil, is called the Stress Away. It is a blend of oils, and this is one of my favorites. It smells really good. Would you like to smell it?
Sure.
Okay. Tell me what you smell or what it reminds you of first thing. Okay. You can hold it up. You can start low and slow if you're not used to using oils.
Okay.
And take a nice deep breath.
I almost smell like tangerine, citrus. It reminds me of walking in the flowers in California.
Yes. Now, isn't that interesting? Do you see how it triggered a memory or a thought that is related to something, like it brought up imagery?
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
Yes.
definitely.
Yes. So that is one of the most interesting things that I found about essential oils. The first time I realized that essential oils connected to memory or trauma or anything like that is that my mom had told me that she was having some, I think it was allergies or something. I was like, maybe you can try lavender. That tends to help people whenever the pollens are really bad or something. And so she tried lavender for a week. I called her, I was like, so how did it go? And she was like, oh gosh, every time I smelled it, I felt a pain right here in this little spot on my head. I'm like, okay, let's try a different oil. How about frankincense? Because I knew she was dealing with just feeling sad a lot and just really in a dark place. Like, let's try frankincense. It's very gentle. It's been used for centuries. Like, I mean, even ancient Egyptians, like the ancient cultures were using frankincense. It was more valuable than gold. And so she used that. I called her a week later. How did that go? Oh, every time I smell it, I get this pain right here in this side, right in this spot. I'm like, what in the world, Mom? I thought you're so strange. I'm like, okay, but I know that you're an honest woman, so let me go and research that. So I started doing research, and I realized that if we experience trauma at any point in our lives, as children, anything can be a trauma to us. Just like the sound of thunder when we're a child can make us feel unsafe. And our minds may go, everything we experience, it comes into the brain as a chemical chain. And if our brains are like, ooh, we're not ready for this, we're gonna catalog this here, but we're gonna go put it somewhere in the body. This is where things sounded a little hokey to me, like what? But that trauma gets stored somewhere in the body. It can be in an organ, it can be in some place, and then your body starts to put like layers, protective layers around it, so you don't really even know it's there. But later on you might have some resulting health issue, like where'd that come from? I've never had it in my family. And then you smell something like this and it starts to remove some of those layers, and there's a whole bunch of science behind this. The essential oils go and kind of empty the trash can of the cells. It helps to purify and remove. So you may tap into a memory and go, oh, there's something going on over here.
And so that's where like the pain or in mindfulness, pain is real, whether it's physical pain, emotional pain, spiritual pain, but whatever it is perceived as real. And so what you're saying is like the essential oils kind of removes some of the barriers, and so what you're left with is that pain,
yes,
that was there originally,
right? And now your mind is ready to go and say, oh, I'm mature enough, I can deal with this, I can release this now.
How do you get people prepared to face that? And and maybe like your mom, maybe she wasn't really ready, or maybe she didn't know. How do you prepare people for that?
She didn't really know. And so when I finished researching, and I told her, I think that you may have some trauma, because she had a lot of trauma growing up. So I think this is trying to help you to deal with that trauma. So would you do me a favor and try continuing the use of this and see what happens? She said, oh, okay, I'll try it. I'll continue to do that. So if you have any imagery or feelings or anything that comes up, would you let me know? She said, sure. And so she, after a few weeks, she said that the pain just went away. And the physical, emotional, spiritual, they're all like connected in some way, right? And so she didn't have any memories or anything come up. Some people do, but she said it just stopped. It just went away.
Interesting.
It was like, oh, this is what's happening. Now I can tell my body it's okay. Now we can release this. So interesting things that happen like that. But yeah, there is a lot of science behind it. So whenever you smell this and you're just like, oh, it smells like the beach. I feel like I'm walking on the beach and things like that. That's the center of our brain. And I have a picture in here. So we have let's see what I'm seeing here. So this is like a flower right here, right? And so when you smell the flower, it goes all the way up in here to this area. So you have the olfactory region here. You have, this is where the nasal cavity and everything. But the olfactory system here and the limbic system, this is all the emotional part of your brain. The emotional, the memory, and the sense of smell is all right there connected to each other. So when you walk by a bakery or something and you smell fresh baked bread, and it brings back a memory of like being in your grandmother's kitchen, right? And that happens without you even knowing it's going to happen, right? You just smell it and wham, you're in your grandmother's kitchen. You remember things in detail.
Yeah.
And that can even happen with situations where children are they're living in a state of frustration, like children that are trying to study and learn, and there's something that they smell in the room. Anytime they smell it, it'll trigger that frustration again. So if there's like Clorox smells or something in the room, and they're used to smelling that every time they come in the room, it'll automatically bring them back to that frustration, like, I'm having a hard time learning this, even before they sit down and start to learn.
Interesting.
Yeah. So the sense of smell is very closely connected. So your memory, your emotion, and your sense of smell.
I wonder if that could be even turned around to someone's experiencing something positive and to bring an aroma or something, and that would trigger a positive. What do you think?
Yes, absolutely. So whenever people are dealing with something where they're stuck emotionally, children, adults, whatever, just whatever emotion, like a negative emotion, you have to identify that emotion first, and then think about like, what's the opposite of that emotion? Like, okay, if I'm frustrated, how do I want to feel? I want to feel joyful. I want to feel confident. So you start thinking about confidence and just say, I feel confident with what I'm doing. And you take a sniff of something like Stress Away. It's called Stress Away, right? You take a sniff of the Stress Away, say, I feel confident. And then it links this smell with that feeling, and you can turn that around. So even before you go into a situation where you think that you're going to be experiencing that, just take your Stress Away or one of these other oils, and you can sniff it out of the bottle, or you can even just drop it in your hand. You just put a drop in here, rub your hand together, and then cup it over and take a deep breath. And it helps to trigger what you've set into motion there, and that can actually rewrite the emotions that you would feel in that situation. That means that consumers have to be very educated, because we drive the market. Whatever we buy is what drives it. And so if we're not being super educated, then we just cave into marketing, and we just don't know, until somebody tells us or we find out on our own. And then we start researching and go, okay, so here's how I'm going to do better for my family. And we do that all the time, don't we? Yeah.
And there's a lot of stress going on these days. We don't even have to get into all the details, but, us, and then our children are exposed to the stress, and, whoever would have imagined, came out of COVID and that was stressful.
Right.
And now we're in another stressful environment with the war and things like that.
Yes.
And it's documented that people's stress levels, especially teenagers, but I think even that's changing now, that we are probably scaling the walls up to the ceiling in our stress. What would you recommend, what kind of techniques, what would you recommend if you were given a class?
Yeah, well, definitely pairing your mindfulness techniques with essential oils just like raises that up to a whole other level, right? Because now they're connecting with very clean essential oils that your body can deal with. I was also trained in something called emotional reset, emotional release with like the body scans, and what a difference that makes, right? So teaching people how to do that keeping our stress levels so high is so damaging to ourselves. Our adrenals are completely stressed out, and then our thyroid's trying to take over for adrenals, and we're just like flooding our body with constant cortisol. It leads to weight gain, it leads to cancers, it leads to all kinds of things. And so we've got to get a handle on our stress, because throughout the history of the world there have been things that have created lots of stress. And I believe that if you're looking at like the Middle Ages, right, there were wars and things all the time. There were horrible, atrocious things that happened. The difference now is that we're just being exposed to so much of it because we are connected all over the world, right? And so we're just kind of seeing that at different levels. But so we can keep our stress levels super high anyway. So learning how to manage it is essential for the quality of our lives.